welcome everyone to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences, the episode just before Christmas. Welcome. We're glad you're here and hope that you are having a happy holiday season. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of you. So this is the podcast where we listen to all the Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts from the previous week, and we get together at a podcast host, the wonderfully gleeful Higher Gravity Summit Park, and we give our version of the truth of how those podcasts went. Now, hopefully, Santa doesn't think we're too naughty for what we've done this past year. I don't know. We'll see. I am Marco. I am a taproom manager here locally, and I'm about to introduce the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
Hello, everyone. I am Julia, and I am the best podcast co-host.
You are?
In Podcastlandia.
I can't do this.
I can't do it.
Happy holidays,
amazing.
everyone.
Happy holidays, guys. When this episode releases, it'll be the day, Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Something like that. Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Eve.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So anyways, welcome to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. Thank you. If this is your first ride, truly appreciate your coming on board. Look, if you don't think it's fun or funny, please give us another try and another try after that. At some point, hopefully you ingratiate yourself into what it is we're doing. If you've been with us for a long time, I truly appreciate your listenership. Now, that being said, I want to thank everyone who has listened and participated because we are the #1 craft beer podcast that talks about Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts.
It's true.
I do want to shout out Elijah and Shift Beers as Patreon supporters, so you can support us on Patreon. And people are doing it. People are doing it by the droves. There's not
So many people.
So many people.
So
There's a lot
many
of people.
Yes.
A lot of people there are supporting us. So please get out there and support us.
We'll go over that later, like at the end of the show, on how you can do that.
We're going to release NFTs. We're going to release our own NFTs. Anyways, so we would not be a good craft beer podcast if we were not having drinks.
It's true.
Of some sort. We have
multiple drinks.
We have multiple drinks in front of us because, A, it's the holiday season, and damn it, that's what we do. We really drink on this show. Mm-hmm. I just want everyone to know, for those poser podcasts, for those fake-ass podcasts that don't really drink, we're not those.
No.
We're for reals. And so Julia and I have the same thing. I'll let Julia tell you what we have. All
right. So we have, as Marcus said, 2 things in front of us. We are going to be drinking Astra Burst, which I haven't had yet. Have you had it yet?
I have.
Okay, cool. I am excited. I can smell it from here. It smells just like Pink Starburst. So I am...
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, imagine that. It smells great.
Interesting.
I can't wait. And as a chaser for the Astra, maybe as one sip of one sip of another. Who knows? We might get crazy with that here.
Yeah.
We also have Little Kings.
Hell yeah.
Because 'tis the motherfucking season.
Second week in a row with a Little Kings.
Cheers. Cheers to those little 7.5 ounce bottles, 7 ounce bottles. Love it.
That's delicious. I need to go into the cave and see if they have it, so that I can buy the case. Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully they do.
Hopefully they do. But everybody, welcome Truth Beer Pod here at Higher Gravity Summit Park. A little disappointed because I figured just before Christmas we would have the several of our podcast listeners show up to support us. They all unfortunately had COVID, so they will probably be with us just before New Year's, I guess.
Which would be next week's episode.
Yeah.
Because holy cow.
Everyone feel better, and I hope everybody has a great holiday season.
Absolutely. Another disclaimer that I do want to say is...
Do it.
The things that we say, the thoughts, the opinions, the recaps are ours and ours alone. They are not affiliated in any way with Higher Gravity or with any of the places that we may or may not work.
Correct. Thank you,
Julia. Just want to make sure that we do not get into trouble for anything.
Correct.
And I'm gonna let you take it away with the podcast that we have to cover this week, so that I can take a sip. Cheers.
Some burst.
Of this burst.
Get bursting. I don't know if that was appropriate. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a shout out to Beers and Beards. And then we're going to roll into a little bit of an overview of what Craft Parenting Pod has been doing.
Yeah.
And then move on from there to the other shows. So, Julia, our notes look exactly the same.
They really
I don't know
do.
how every week they match.
Okay, so we need to start off with something else that was almost exactly the same about today. So, Mark and I each, without talking to each other first, to say, hey, let's get a gift, whatever. Both of us walked in. It's like, hey, so I have something for you. And I'm like, oh, I have something for you. And it's like, well, I was kind of rushed, so it's not the great. It's like, well, I was rushed, and it wasn't quite, I don't think this is, kind of my best gift-giving work and all that. Marco pulls out a wine bag. I pull out a wine bag.
That's true.
We both start cracking up, going, if we got each other the exact same thing, what the hell? So we're already laughing. We are
laughing.
Cracking up.
I prefaced before I gave Julia the wine bag. I said, I thought to myself, if I was Julia, what would I want?
Yes.
And then I brought in the bag, and then Julia
Started laughing
and said, I kind of have a bag that kind of looks like that. And she puts the bag on the table, so both bags are on the table. We don't know what
then I run up to my car, I get my bag, and we have the bags sitting
on
to
the table.
Different colors. At least we didn't get the same bag, because that would have just been weird.
Look, there's glitter right here.
There's glitter under your eye.
Oh, shit. My
Okay,
bag.
so
my bag had glitter.
My complaint about this gift, and yes, I'm going to complain about a gift. Marco,
you can do that.
Marco gave me a bag with glitter on it, guys. Glitter.
Yeah.
That is never going to leave my car. It's never going to leave my hands, my
Actually,
shirt.
that glitter I put there purposely.
Oh, it looked good.
Thank you.
It looked good. I just didn't know if you were aware that it was there. And anyway.
It's Christmas time. I had glitter
You were
under
festive.
my eyes.
Yeah, there you go.
So we both had wine bags on the table, and I just stopped and I looked at Julia and I said, "We got each other the same gift."
thing.
And she goes, "I don't know. I don't. Maybe not." And then
maybe not.
she looks at she takes the tissue paper off the top of my bag because I didn't wrap the whole thing in tissue paper. Come on, my guy. And she takes tissue paper off to where she can only see the top of the bottle.
Yes.
And she goes, "Okay, so it's not the same thing." And I was like, "Oh, okay.
Okay, cool.
Cool." And she pulls it out, the gift.
Yes.
She pulls the gift out, and she's like, "Oh," and she starts laughing. And she's like, "Open your gift." And so I opened my gift, and I pull the bottle out, and we both gifted each other a bottle of tequila.
Different brands.
Different brands.
But we both.
Yeah. I gave Julia a bottle of Terramana Reposado. And Julia gave me a Cazadores?
Yeah.
A Cazadores
Reposado.
tequila.
And it's still a Reposado.
Tequila. So
I'll post the picture that I took of the two bottles on social media.
we had a
because
lot.
It was.
We were crying laughing for 10 minutes. Y'all.
I'm back to crying now.
It's hilarious.
Oh my god.
So Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays.
And may you give gifts that bring this amount of joy and
absolutely.
fun to everyone that you give gifts to.
Absolutely.
Oh my god, so great.
Fun. That was so fun.
That was hilarious. Can you imagine if we both had the same bag? That would have been ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Although, I
didn't
told
realize
you,
the bag had glitter.
I didn't.
I just
glitter,
grabbed
man.
it and checked it out, and then when I went to put it, I was like, "Damn it!"
So
There's
okay.
glitter.
So
I didn't love that it had glitter on it.
See, here's a question for you: was that a bag that you already had in your house that maybe a re-gifted bag,
No.
or did you buy it? Okay.
No, I bought the bag.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we had that one, and I'm like, I have to check to make sure there isn't something already written in the the little tag.
Yeah. Love you from Brett Coleman Baker.
Oh man, I thought I threw this one out.
Right.
Oh my god! But no, it was
Signed Sasquatch.
It was so fantastic. I love that so much, and I am going to enjoy my tequila.
Good. I'm going to enjoy mine too for sure.
All right, let's get into these podcast recaps. Otherwise, we will be here. I mean, we're always here all night anyway.
Yeah,
but
that happens.
Let's go ahead and,
Let's do it.
and get some of these
Let's
in.
get rolling.
So I wanted to start with Beers and Beards, episode 118, mostly because they talked about Esoteric's People's Advent Beer, which is part of the Higher Gravity Beervent calendar this year. David has a Beervent box, which is how he has this beer. It was one of the exclusive beers that was brewed by a local brewery for the Beervent calendar. It is, I don't know if it still is, it was on tap at Esoteric. Esoteric tapped it and had some available there. Higher Gravity has it, or at least Summit Park. I'm not sure about Northside. Summit Park has it on tap here, so I'm assuming Northside has it as well. I haven't checked their on tap listings for that. But if you want it packaged, the only way to get it in a can was through the Beervent calendar. So this isn't going to be a huge recap because most of their episode was about bourbon and a whole bunch of football talk. And I mean, David's going to get his very first Bengals jersey, which I think is huge news to celebrate.
Ah, that is.
The last Bengals jersey that I bought, I think, cursed Joe Burrow, so I can never wear it again. But it was also from D.H. Gates, so it was like a...
First Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Whatever that curse is working out okay for him.
Well, when the first and only time that I wore it was when his knee got crushed.
Yeah, but he came back.
He did, but still, I don't want to... I literally have not touched that jersey since. Like I said, it was a $20 knockoff, so I'm not upset about it.
I'm sure he thanks you for that. Because
it ended up okay.
He heard, and he's like, yeah, that's probably why I had to have, surgery.
Yep.
So.
They didn't talk a ton of, like I said, a lot of the
about
episode
beards?
was about bourbon. Well, they never talk about beards, or very rarely do they talk about beards. So, guys, come on. I have been trying to get a nice full beard for years. It never works. All I get is a little bit of stubble, and then I just wax it off. I'm like, I'm tired of this. This is terrible, and I get rid of it. So,
every now and then, I want to get inspired to grow a beard, and this podcast has done nothing for me in that way of inspiration. So
do better, guys, on the beards part of your podcast.
Yeah.
Let's see, about 18 minutes in, I'm going to give some timestamps just because we're a craft beer podcast, not a bourbon podcast, not anything else. We're not beards. Yeah, totally not. So about 18 minutes in, they started talking about maple syrup, which led into talk about maple syrup in barrels, which led to in bourbon barrels, which finally, after a minute or two, tied into them talking about the release of Street Side's barrel-aged version of Socially Influenced, which was released last year. So this episode...
Don't know where our invite went.
Well, that was kind of before we were super ingrained in a lot of this, I feel like. So I'm not saying we should have been involved, but I can understand that it was still new-ish for us.
Okay, that's fine.
But the day that this episode, or a couple days after this episode, before this episode, what is time? Hold on, I need to figure this out. We're recording on the 20th. So the 21st, which is Wednesday, this episode will come out on Friday. So by the time you hear this, the barrel-aged version of Socially Influenced, their waffle and maple syrup brown ale, will be in cans. I don't believe they're distributing it. I think it's only available in their tap room. I loved the original version, the non-barrel aged version. So I can imagine that this is going to be absolutely phenomenal. They shouted out a lot of the other podcasters and influencers that were part of the collaboration, including Craft Parenting Pod. They couldn't remember who...
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, they couldn't remember which Joe was part of the release.
The so Michael Jackson of German dancing.
So it is now Craft Parenting Joe.
Boom. Caroline!
Which was pretty cool. And then the other thing that kind of is relevant to what we talk about, at about the 45-minute mark in the episode, that's when they started talking about the Higher Gravity Beervent calendar and Day 13's pool, which was Esoteric's People's Advent, which is their porter with coffee and coconut, which I really enjoyed. And David sounded like he really enjoyed it as well. So we definitely wanted to shout out them for shouting out, the local Cincinnati beer for the Beervent calendar. They talked a bit about the glass you got when you pre-ordered in July.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It wasn't the beer talk wasn't a majority of the episode, which is why we're not covering the whole thing. But I at least wanted to give them a shout out for the 2 local parts of it that they did shout out. And if you happen to see any of Streetside's barrel-aged, socially influenced beer out there, grab some. Like I said, the original, the base, the non-barrel-aged version, I loved. I think I have one can left.
Really?
That I had down like in the cellar, aka
okay.
my basement, where it stays a consistent cool temperature, that I just brought back up because I'm like, I need to just start drinking this
Nice.
stuff. So
yeah.
if I get a can of the barrel aged, Gnome, if you want to maybe hook me up,
Yeah.
I can get down to Streetside at some point
Hook up.
and maybe go. It's where to find us.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying there. Good episode of Beers and Beards, just not a whole lot of beer talk, so it is a shorter little just kind of, I don't want to call it a glossing over of the episode, but I just, really the only parts that are relevant to what you and I do were those 2 specific little segments about bourbon barrel aged, socially influenced, and the Beervent calendar, specifically that day's beer that David drank.
That's what I have written down as well. So it's uncanny how much our notes match.
Just like our Christmas gifts.
I mean,
it all
really?
just matches up.
It just matches up.
Like our birthdays.
We have the same shirt on today.
We have the
just
same
in
shirt on too.
different colors.
What is happening? We both. So not only do we have the same shirts on in different colors, we're both wearing our adventure hoodies in different colors.
Adventure hoodie.
We both got each other the same.
Shout out to Zane Lamprey, Amazon special.
Buy a
comedy special on Amazon. Buy it.
We both got each other basically the same Christmas gift, just in different colored bags and different varieties of the tequila that we got each other. And we're drinking the same shit right now, which we kind of, we chose to do that.
We shared.
Which I'm doing more talking than drinking. Let's move into, and we talked about this last week, we're not going to go in depth on all the episodes of Craft Parenting Podcast that they're doing about the Beervent calendar, because they are killing it with releasing, if not an episode a day about the day's pools. They'll do a longer episode where they put together several days.
I love it where you might get an episode one day, an episode the next day, and then all of a sudden they have 4 days to go through. I think it's a great format for them, and they didn't plan it that way. They just had a lot of illness running through the house, and with kids, and illness and all this other stuff. I totally get it. Hopefully everyone's feeling good now and is ready for the holiday season and the new year and everything. But they have been chronicling their journey through the higher gravity Beervent box. Right. And it's been great because you can get not just an echoing or a reading of whatever is on the bottle or the can or whatever, but they go into a little bit about their experience with it, but also the brewery itself, where it's from, when it, give you some history. Craft Parenting Pod is always great about giving you information. If anything, Craft Parenting Pod, if you're forming a top 5, and I'm not. This is not a top 5.
Right,
no, I knew when I said it. I knew when I said it's like top 5 thing. No, nope. I'm just saying one of the things they do is they're very well researched when they give you information. And the two of them are very, very smart people. They are learned people, and happy to have them in the Craft Beer Podcast Cincinnati group, because they do their research. So they have chronicled all the way through yesterday. Am I right?
Yeah, day 19. I'm not all the way through that episode yet.
Yeah.
I think it just came out. Yeah, it would have had to have just come out today, since.
Yeah. So they're doing a great job, and what's fun and funny is it seems like Joe's he's taking the helm. He's leading the ship, and he's no matter if Caroline is working with the kids or trying to get the kids to sleep, or
he's taking a risk.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, honey, we got to record. And she's like, I feel like every other episode, he is waking her up from deep REM sleep. Like, hey, we got to pull the Beervent beer. We got to drink it. We got to record the podcast on it. And she's just like, what? So he's risking life and limb pulling her away from the kids momentarily, waking her up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, he talks about, he just goes into it. I mean, he lays it out for her like plain as day. He's like, do you think Julie and Marco take days off? Do you think Shift Beers is going to let you just sleep there and not do this? Do you think the gnome is going to be happy when we don't put this out? It's like, get up and get to it.
You can hear that in his voice in these episodes.
What's so weird is his voice is so authoritative, and what's weird is his hands are so small. It's so weird. I mean, but he's a
That's
giant
how he gets
person.
the beers out of the Beervent
He's
box.
a giant person, but
he's like at least a foot taller than I am.
a foot and 1 inch taller than I am.
There
at
you
least.
go. Yeah.
So, but so weird. I mean, he just lays it out flat, and she's like, "I can do it. I'm gonna be a podcast. I'm here, and we'll explain later." And like, explain later. What do you mean? And then they, stay tuned. Stay tuned the whole thing, because they sometimes give you some bloopers at the end. Spoiler alert.
I love that so incredibly much.
We don't have to do that because we bloop throughout the whole thing.
And I leave it in.
Yeah.
I don't cut it out because
it's like fuck it.
Because I'm listening to these episodes and I'm editing, and I am laughing my ass off because I remember what it was like doing this, live. So I'm like, someone else is going to find this funny too. So I'm leaving it in.
Yeah.
You pretty much
glad
covered.
Zane Lamprey likes it. Just want to say.
Only when you're doing.
Shout out to Zane.
Hell yeah.
Only when I'm doing drugs. That's insider information, Julia.
My bad. A couple.
Yay, drugs.
Yay, drugs. Anyway, totally different rabbit hole that I am. Last week we went down a shit ton of rabbit holes.
How about them holes?
Trying to them holes. Your notes match my notes incredibly closely, but there were a couple things that I wanted to retouch on that you didn't mention.
Okay, yes. Well, because I was speeding through from memory.
It's
now
true.
you have the hard notes.
Down. I have the hard copy here. One of the things I really like about listening to all of these episodes is Joe is absolutely, since they're sharing each day's beer. It's not one person gets a beer and then the next day the next person gets a beer. They're sharing them every day. And Joe is really being willing to step out of his comfort zone and like, I really don't like this style of beer, but I'm going to try this. And he's actually found a few that he's like, you know what, I like this a little more than I thought I would based on the ingredients or the style.
That's part of it. That's
so much
part
fun.
of the whole experience, right?
So much fun.
And
right,
splitting them is actually a fantastic way to do that.
Agreed.
The other thing that I would say is also splitting them is a great way to get, I don't know what the beer equivalent of hangry is, but if you give me half a beer and I like it
and Little Kings?
And I get charged up and it's like, what the hell? I mean, we better have something else going on after this because as far as beer wise, because splitting this beer with you is fun and sharing is fun.
Yeah. And hearing them share them, as a couple is awesome.
Yeah.
You also kind of learn a bit more about each of them throughout all the episodes. Like something that I didn't know, Joe doesn't like fake holidays. So things that are appropriate for the Beervent calendar, like National Pastry Day for the Listerman, Father Kyle's cinnamon roll stout that they adjuncted with coconut.
Uh-huh.
He's like, I hate these days. I hate this. But then Caroline would go into, well, it's National Pastry Day. Here's a bit of information about Pastry Day, in addition to information about the beer style, the brewery, that type of thing. So that's been really fun to kind of get those little extra peeks behind the curtain.
One of those things for me when I moved up here, my wife and I think, I don't want to speak for my wife, but I know that she and I both didn't know it was a thing until we moved to Ohio, coming from where we came from, or where we used to live, not where we came from, but where we used to live. Of course we would celebrate Valentine's Day. But we had no idea what the hell Sweetest Day was. Like,
it's a fake holiday.
What
in
the fuck is Sweetest Day?
What you should celebrate instead of Sweetest Day.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
March 14th. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. Look it up on your own. If there was a spring-themed Beervent box, it wouldn't be Beervent. It would be like Spring Vent box. I have no idea. It would have to I don't even know. Something with a lot of nuts in it. I don't know.
What-
Oh my God.
Jesus. One of the songs that came up as I was driving, I do a lot of driving recently.
Yeah, you do.
One of the songs that came up was that Lonely Island song. The Lonely Island song, Dick in a Box.
I was just going to say, yeah. But I was finishing the last of my burst. Oh, God. It still all ties together, and it's terrible. Anyway, let's go ahead and close up this. It's not necessarily a recap of an episode of Craft Parenting Podcast, but it's a closing of a recap of the individual episodes that they've been doing all month long, which are absolutely spectacular. I'm having a ton of fun listening to them.
Step
all
one.
their
Get a box.
get a doc. All their facts are in the doc.
Yeah.
They start saying that a little more towards some of the
That's
most
right.
recent
They have a doc.
episodes. And
Cut a hole in that doc.
gotta edit the doc. That's what we have for Craft Parenting Pod. Seriously, these episodes, they're most of them are mini episodes if they happen to miss a day or 4 days because, again, life, kids,
Right.
things like that. Their next episode on the Beervent stuff is longer because they're shoving together 4 or 5 days worth of beer. Sometimes they're having them all in the same night, which
Let's go.
they start having some fun near the end of those.
That's
and
fun.
you have no idea, is Caroline still sleep deprived or is she drunk?
Or both.
Or
and
both.
Both is even more fun.
Yes. So definitely check them out. They're a lot of fun. We're pretty close to being done. Well, we're both done with our burst. I've been talking too much, so I need to slam down this Little King's. Yours is empty.
So
We're going to take a quick break, and then we have Cincy Brewcast and Shift Beers to round off the episode with.
All right, let's go.
All right, we'll be right back. Holy shit, we made it back.
We did. Just drinking.
I am just drinking something that you decided we needed to share because this whole entire episode
what
is
we're
going to be
doing.
us like having the same of something. We're splitting lunch.
Yeah. Lunch. Cheers.
Lunch, cheers. This is such a damn good
Maine
beer.
lunch. What a good beer. Holy shit.
Maine Brewing or Maine Beer Company.
Yeah.
What an amazing, amazing brewery. I know they're not local, but I have never
They're
had
domestic.
anything.
Wow.
I've never had anything from them that I'm like, it's meh. It's okay. It's always been, wow, this is really good. And
It's really good, and
thank
they
you.
do
Thank
their
you for
part
doing
for
this.
sustainability, right?
True that.
It's delicious beer. There's a couple of beers. If I'm at a place and I'm not sure that I love anything that they have, I'll take.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm at a place and I'm not sure I love anything they have, and they have Maine Beer Company on, I'll take something from Maine Beer Company.
Right.
Like a Boston Lager is like an airport beer. Like you go to the airport and you're like, I don't know, I'm at this bar.
It's
and
7 a.m., myself an hour before my flight.
Airport beer.
Absolutely.
There's a couple others that I have that are in that realm. For another day, we can do a top 5. Not today. But
What's
anyway.
your number 6?
Ah.
We'll get into that another day.
OLI, outside looking in on number 6. Anyway, but yeah, Maine lunch, just really delicious.
Really is.
Delicious
yes.
beer. What are we doing here,
Okay,
Julia?
pick up your glass again. We have the Cincinnati Brewcast.
The Cincinnati
Cheers.
Brewcast. Cheers. So this is the Cincy Brewcast that came out last week that did not get fed to my podcatcher.
Which is fine.
Little inside information, it's still not on my podcatcher.
Really?
And I have new episodes of other podcasts, and Cincy Brewcast has still not updated to
Weird.
my podcatcher. I went to the source, so anybody who needs to know, you can go to the source. Always go to the source if you can't find it on your podcatcher. I went to gnarlygnome.com or Cincy Brewcast or whatever.
Drinkingwiththegnome.com.
You can
all
find it.
The gnarlygnome.com is the typical like a hub for everything gnome. And speaking of, I do want to say that the Glühwein episode of Drinking with the Gnome has just hit my podcatcher. I don't know if it's at yours yet, but it should be out there, especially by the time this episode drops. If you don't see it, check out drinkingwiththegnome.com or, like we just said, thenarlygnome.com for all things gnome. I believe the video for that episode of Drinking with the Gnome from Chris Kindle Market talking about Glühwein is still on Facebook, with the first few minutes of it being muted because no one needs to hear me talk any more than I already do. The video has not, or any of the clips have not hit YouTube yet, but definitely follow the Gnome on his YouTube channels as well. YouTube.com/Cincy Brewcast. Also at Drinking with the Gnome on YouTube. I think those are the only two he has so far that I'm aware of. I could be wrong, but
That's so weird.
check out the videos on YouTube as well.
I can show you Julia, and Julia sees Drinking with the Gnome, new
It
episode.
says you have a new
That's
episode.
the one.
Yeah, yeah.
Cincy Brewcast. Pull.
Yeah,
refresh,
you're refreshing like a madman.
refreshing,
And you still
not
do
there.
not have.
I still
that's
do
so
not
weird.
have last week's episode with Andy McLeese from Brink.
What podcatcher do you use?
I'm using Stitcher.
If you use Stitcher and you're not seeing an episode of Cincy Brewcast with, the title is Brink Brewing Company is Growing, ? If you're not seeing that, reach out to Stitcher. I know that, kind of like us, we have a single point that we upload our podcast to, and it pushes, our podcast host pushes it out to everyone.
Right.
So maybe there's something weird between Stitcher and whoever the Gnome uses. But if we mention an episode that you're not seeing, don't give up on the episode. Go to thegnarlygnome.com and you.
That's me adjusting my mic.
I know, that's why I paused. All good. And you can find all the episodes on his website. So definitely check it out. This is a really, really cool one. But I did want to say Drinking with the Gnome is another podcast that, we'll be covering this one next week. And spoiler alert, we get to talk about Thor when we cover this episode. Thor is freaking amazing, and I cannot wait to cover this one.
Sweet.
All right.
All
So
right.
Brink Brewing Company is growing.
They are.
They absolutely are. Andy McLeese is on this episode, which the last time that Andy McLeese was on Cincy Brewcast was pre-pandemic. Like, it's been a while. I'm sorry. That should be yours.
It's been a while.
Since we've had Andy on this show. It's been
a while.
This is the lunch talking. Maybe not. So some of my notes, and I know that you had the same notes because they're exactly actually they're not exactly the same for this episode because you never saw it show up.
I went to the source though.
You did go. Well, no, but what I'm saying is, like, when I wrote these down, since you had a delay.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
There's a little bit of weird thing. The video that I have a note here that says video is a pain in the ass, but we appreciate it. So I don't know what that refers to. Hopefully that makes sense to either Gnome or McLeese or someone. I have no idea. And then they also started a bit of this episode about competitions, beer competitions, which aren't necessarily, they're not bias free. It's all about whose palate can sway the judge the most.
They do talk about how awarded Brink is.
Absolutely.
And they talk a little bit about how that blends into their identity or doesn't blend into their identity, or how much they put forward that as an identity. You need to listen to find out, what that balance is.
Right.
They do go into talk a little bit, as you were saying, Brink growing ? One thing that is no doubt growing is Andy's hair.
That is true.
That's growing.
That is
and
true.
He's got some lovely locks.
Check out the clips that the Gnome has posted on YouTube for that clip for the episodes. It's amazing.
And I feel that
every guy has hair that's like better than mine. Yours, my Josh's, McLeese's. It's completely unfair. I need your hair care secrets.
Well, other than the things that I do for proper hair health, genetics. I can't grow any taller, but my hair, it is what it is. Back when I used to work at the place I used to work at, I worked with a lot of guys with horseshoes or were bald, or people come in and ask for somebody and ask what color their horseshoe was, and then And then sometimes I would just go an extra 2 weeks or so without a cut, just to show off for a little bit.
All right. All right.
Flex.
But you don't take like special vitamins or use like a
I'm not
special
doing like
hair serum
keratin or I'm not
Collagen,
like collagen or like vitamin E or anything. No, it's just
Maybe I need to
pretty
talk to
standard
McLeese
things.
about the hair then.
You might want to do that.
Because what I'm hearing from you is your hair is all genetics. Maybe McLeese is doing something that is more than just genetically based.
Could be.
Hair care.
Could be.
That I need to know about. But definitely check out the clips on YouTube because the mane is a rockin'.
Yeah, salad. Wonderful.
Yeah, true that. Brink has had a lot of plans for expansion, not just the taproom space, but production space.
And Andy McLeese's hair.
Yeah, and Andy McLeese's hair, which is one part of their growing and their expansion that they did not back out of.
Correct.
Which was a really interesting, and I think, not that I know any of their, financials, any of like the behind the scenes stuff going on, but I think that the part of the conversation where Noam and Andy McLeese dug into the plans that they had to expand their production space in a separate building, in a separate space. I already said that, but it's the word that fits the best. I think they made the right decision for who they are and for what they were and were not willing to put into the company as far as, debt and...
Yeah, so they touched on a little bit on how they did contract brew at two different spaces,
yeah.
And it may or may not be true that one space was great, one space was not. Maybe both spaces were great, maybe both spaces weren't. Maybe they were putting out fucking turds at one place and another. Who knows? I'm not going to tell you. You got to go listen. There may have been a draft versus can scenario that was talked about. There may not have been. I don't know. You need to go listen.
I will,
but they do talk about that.
Yeah, and they are very transparent about that, which I love. I feel like a lot of places, and we talked about this in the YouTube video that we did about is contract brewing similar to a ghost kitchen.
Right,
so
we
check
did
us
talk
out on
about
YouTube
that.
for that.
Check us out.
Brink was, or McLeese was very, very open and transparent about, hey, we tried this, we were doing this, these are the results that we got, which I really, really appreciate. Like, I don't care if a brewery contract brews to get their beer out to the masses. I don't care. Just either put on the can, brewed in contract with blah, or brewed at this different place. That way, if you do taste a beer and you go, this doesn't taste the way that I remember, sometimes there are differences between the can and the tap room. That transparency can lead you to maybe stopping by the tap room. Maybe you've only ever bought Brink beer at Kroger off the shelf, and so you think that is the taste, the experience that the beer is, but then you go into the tap room, get it off the tap, and maybe you have a completely different experience. This is 100% hypothetical, my own, just trying to present a scenario to you, not saying that this is what it's what they discuss on the episode, but not necessarily this specific beer, this specific topic.
Yeah, I
love their transparency on it.
I think that's one of the biggest call-outs from this podcast is that if you were at all interested on some of the inner workings of Brink and want somebody to talk about it without the politically correct social media shield, they don't do a lot of. You're not going to get any hot takes, or you're not going to get any, flaming hot fireballs or shots thrown here or there, or maybe you are. But honestly, what you're going to get is you're going to get one of the ownership pillars to speak about some of the ups and downs and challenges, and also some of the ways that they went about and almost did some things,
right,
and then actually pivoted and then did some things that maybe you're going to see coming soon. So
right, absolutely.
It was definitely a fun and interesting Cincy Brewcast, and that's what continues to make Cincy Brewcast a really pivotal and integral part of our podcast community is, talking with the right people about the right stuff. And, it's...
it's letting those places have their own voice and tell their own story and not try to lead them down a path of, well, I heard this, and, well, what about this rumor? What about this, news, this press release that we saw? It's an incredibly in-depth and honest conversation. Like, you can tell that from the gnome side, these are questions that he is really curious and passionate about, like what's going on with this, what's going on with, what you're doing when it comes to a beer or an expansion or a, adding food, whatever it might be that he's talking about. He is asking those questions of the brewery because he genuinely is interested and invested in it. Unexpected break, but always amazing to see Mo here and her puppers.
For sure.
So we're going to try to figure out where we were on this journey through this episode of Cincy Brewcast with Andy McLeese from Brink, talking about their growth, both physical and non-physical.
Yeah.
Really. Kind of don't remember exactly where we left off, so if this is a little choppy of a transition, talking to our friends will always take precedence over.
Yeah.
So production space. They did talk about adding, and I don't want to spoil any parts of the episode because it is an absolutely fantastic episode to listen to, as we always say.
For sure.
If they're not good episodes, we'll kind of spoil more about the episode than in other episodes.
Yeah.
But listen to this to talk about the decisions, the last minute decisions that they made about, production space and expansion and all that. Some changes coming to the tap room. Can diversity. There will be more can diversity in the near future. What exactly does that mean? Listen to find out. College Hill has a Dora district. And I thought it was pretty funny how McLeese was saying that, we're the problem children that are testing this out. Like, if there's a problem, it's because of you guys with the new Dora area in College Hill. I didn't write down the streets, the block that it covers. So before you go, there will be signs posted.
I think it's important for their Dora district, if you want to partake and enjoy, just know the rules, right?
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
Any Dora district, just know the rules. It sounds like there's some rules there that maybe are different than other Dora districts.
I think they're
just
being
dig into
a
it a
little
little bit.
cautious in College Hill is what it sounded like. Like, hey, we're gonna expand this or start this out a little slower than places like the Banks or here at Summit Park, that type of thing. So yeah, just definitely
just know the rules. Have fun. Have fun, and it's better with it than without it. So just have fun. Just know the rules.
Yeah.
So after Dora District, after expansion, what do we have?
They talked about some of the beers, like how Broken Sprocket Amber has made a comeback, and something that they've been, I say that Andy has been asking for a while, like, hey, why don't we do an alt beer? Why don't we do an alt beer? We have the production schedule. Why don't we do an alt beer? There may be an alt beer in the near future. That's all that again, it didn't sound like he was 100% convinced it was going to happen either. So what? Come on. You like Schwartz beers. Alt beers are the next in line. I said it.
Oh, okay.
You tried a Schwartz beer on Drinking with the Gnome.
I did.
And you kind of enjoyed it. So, therefore...
I got it down.
My truth is alt beers are next for you to start loving and embracing. And
that's okay.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Fine.
Yes. One of the big things, they are very, very anti-untapped. At least as far as an untapped tap list being their tap list in the tap room. I said the word tap a hell of a lot in that sentence. They like the community and the personalized feel of the way they do their tap listings in the tap room. So you may not ever see a TV screen or a monitor in the Brink tap room with. I keep saying the word tapped. Good
that's
Lord,
fine.
but it is what it is.
Much in the way that Narrow Path always has them drawn out on chalkboards.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how Brink does it. It's been a while since I've been to.
I'm sorry.
Been a while since I've been to Brink. I've been to Brink twice, all pre-pandemic. So it's been a while.
It's such a different conversation. It's a small tap room. So.
It is, but how they do their tap lists and their tap boards is unique to them and their space, and that's fine. Sure. I can appreciate that. I'm not gonna knock anybody who's got a untapped board. I feel it's efficient. It's bright. It's shiny. It garners attention. So, I mean, I'm fine with all of it.
Yeah.
The only thing that can happen is occasionally somebody's untapped profile picture is inappropriate and may need to be, moved on from.
I don't know what you're talking about. My profile picture is fine. It's fine.
You may have been present when I saw one that was not. Just saying.
Oh, what a glorious day that was! This was so to wrap up this this recap of season 8, episode 30. Brink Brewing Company is growing? Question mark. Because I had this written down last week. Last week I was all about the multiple choice questions.
Yes, Julia's multiple choice questions.
I have one for today. Here is Julia's multiple choice question.
I love that you introduced it.
So dramatic.
Yeah.
What new thing did Brink just add to the tap room? Is it A, window decals? Is it B, new door signage for entrances and exits? Or is it C, they finally sanded down the tables?
Or is it D? It's Marco here. I bring the D. Julie gave you A, B, and C, and I bring the D. Is D coconut-scented urinal cakes?
Oh. I mean, in the episode, listen to find out, but man, oh man.
Stop me when I lie.
Not wrong. Not wrong at all. You, sir, need another drink before we start talking about shipped beers.
Okay.
At least that's what it looks like. So,
I will.
Another real quick break, and then we're going to finish up this episode. We'll be right back. That was probably one of the quickest pee breaks we have taken this episode.
Yeah, I'm back. Got a Rot House Pills. How about that for you?
Yeah, I'm still finishing up my last bit of lunch, but it's going to be enough to get me through shift beers.
Let's go.
Episode 107, The Boys and Some Banquets, Part 2. Because they've done this before. Chris is actually afraid to do these kinds of episodes, so he was not present. We had a special guest.
Sorry, bitch ass. Not there.
This is also, I renamed this episode. This is the terrible noise episode. Because, oh my God.
So many just weird, strange noises.
It was so awkward to listen to.
I recommend listening to it in the car with your kids.
You do you. That's all I am going to say. I do want to shout them out again. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon to the Shift Beers crew. Even though I don't think 75% of the Shift Beers crew has any idea that they're supporting us on Patreon. It is what it is, though. We still have that same $10, just kind of circling.
Love it.
The podcast support-iverse. I'm trying to make
Support-iverse, yeah.
Support-iverse. The special. There were 2 guests on the show. I have not yet met Kevin, so I can't say.
Oh, you haven't?
No. So I can't.
Or his mustache.
Or his mustache and his left-sidedness. One of these days.
It's one of my supervisors.
One of these days. But
he's an owner.
The most important guest. Sorry, owner Kevin. The most important guest of this episode was
Lee.
Holy shit, it was so good to hear him on the show. And I love how everyone was terrified, like, oh God, Lee's here. Our livers are going to die.
Yeah.
I mean, Lee goes hard. Lee is freaking amazing.
He's awesome. It's been too
awesome.
long since I've seen Lee. Gotten together
Agreed.
and drank with Lee. So
Absolutely agreed. I know that that he and Danielle, they seem to be doing well. They seem to be having a lot of fun doing all the things, which we'll talk about. One of the really cool things that they had a goal of doing in 2023 a little later in the recap.
It was fun.
Love it. Love it. No Chris, no Beth. It was just Josh, Brian, Lee, and then later in the episode, they managed to somehow, wrangle Kevin, and they just said, hey, you want to drink some beer? And Kevin's like, fuck yeah, I do. So it wasn't too hard to get Kevin involved in the show. Let's see. What is one of the first notes that we have? They discussed how drunk do you have to be to call their drunk line.
They did discuss that, and they discussed how they themselves contemplate when that line is there.
Right.
When to call.
But I feel like once you cross that line into this is when you call the drunk line, you're not remembering or thinking to call the drunk line. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that line is very narrow.
There was one call out on a way to remind yourself to. Mm-hmm. I'll let you listen to the pod and find out what that way is. That certainly is one method. I just would say, look, I would just be a volume shooter if I was you. If you save it as a contact.
Are you saying that as someone that has called the drunk line 12 times in a single night?
No, or maybe. No, or maybe. You know what? Maybe.
Listen to their episodes and find out. What kind of caller is Mark? Is he quality or is he quantity?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just see. I mean, figure it out for yourself. You never know. So, I would say just, do it when you can. Have fun, do it when you can.
Sure.
And have fun listening to them play it back.
Absolutely.
But when you call, bring it. Bring some content.
Because if you half-ass the call, they're not going to play it.
Yeah, they're just going to be like, they're going to dump it. It's like the dump button. You remember Remote Control, the TV show?
Yeah.
Where they would just like, you were sitting on a recliner or a couch and they just like throw you in the basement.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, they'll just dump you.
Same thing. Then they moved on to talking about beer production and brewing and all that and copper guns, which is something I am not super familiar with at all. But there was a big part of the discussion about, can you tell what has gone through a copper gun or not, which tied into, and I don't have it written down.
One of my nicknames in high school.
Oh, the copper gun? Damn. Well, anyway, I'm going to leave that joke up to the listeners to make on their own.
Very good. Fine.
Probably best that way. I want us to stay friends. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
The discussion was around, there was a certain big brewery that either was or wasn't using a copper gun. Again, listen to find out all the details.
Right.
And the question was, let's get like the sensory experts and all of these people in to see what sample of a beer could they taste and could they pick out the one that went through a copper gun. Like, it was a big part of this conversation.
Right.
It didn't last super long in the episode, but it was something that especially Brian and Lee had a pretty passionate talk about, which was cool.
Yeah.
Again, it was
pertinent for sure.
Yeah. One of those little nuggets
it's one of those weird things where, they accidentally stepped on learning.
Yes, which you normally don't get unless it's kind of a Brian the Brewer guy segment of the show.
Beer.
Let's see. This is something we could have done earlier today. What is the littlest spaghetti and what is the biggest spaghetti?
Yes. We could have done that.
We could have done the littlest spaghetti.
Could have.
But we decided that we like that particular beer more than we like spaghetti beer.
Correct.
Yes. But that was pretty funny.
That was fun.
I got a definite good chuckle out of that.
That was fun. Spaghetti.
And then they moved on.
If you don't know about spaghetti...
Spaghetti.net.
Spaghetti.net, and you
Best website
have
in
not...
the world.
listen to Shift Beers, but go listen to Shift Beers. Go to spaghetti.net, figure that out. And they talk about some of the places where in drinking and all that, where they've been and maybe done some spaghetting.
Places that expect the spaghettis when the Shift Beers crew walks in.
Right.
Which is...
Doobie Brothers cover, I'll keep spaghetti. That was from Michael McDonald. Thanks, Michael.
You should take over the next
Thanks, Michael McDonald.
Beervent Parody Day.
I don't think so. Little too much work in there.
So Lee talked about, and this is kind of going back to the beginning of the recap, Lee talked about after a lot of that, what he and his wife are or had a goal of doing for 2023 as far as breweries that they visit. Every like a brewery that covers every letter from A to Z, which is crazy cool. That is such a cool idea to do.
It is a cool idea.
And listen to the episode to find out how many they have left. They have done a kick-ass job.
Yeah, very good job.
And I think they're going to meet their goal. I think that they are going to be able to...
I think if anybody is, they are. Especially
sure.
since they created the challenge,
Sure.
right? I think who within the sound of my voice wants to take on that challenge? And if you do, hit us up on Soch and let us know when you start and that you started the challenge, and keep us up to date as to how you're doing with that challenge.
For sure. That'd be really, really cool, because some of the breweries that were mentioned, I've never heard of, which, I mean, a lot of them were smaller breweries for while they were doing their trips with their dog Lula, who may or may not pull you off of your bar stool while you're drinking.
Why, if your name may or may not be Julia.
Just saying. I wasn't, well, okay, so I was drunk. I didn't fall off the bar seat on my own. Lula helped.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
She is a wonderful dog, and I love her to death, and she can pull me off of a chair anytime.
There you go.
Anytime. Let's see, what else do we have here? They drank dark charges that Lee gave them like 3 years ago.
And
it had been a while. Oh, I'm sorry.
The rule of 3.
It had been a while.
Been a while. Look at this dog charge. I got nothing.
It's in a keg box. We got this. Give us enough time. We got this.
Oh, God, I don't know. I don't have it.
You're not familiar enough with the Nickelback song? I mean, come on.
No.
Come on.
No.
The Dark Charge tasting that they did, really cool. The breakfast box is not one that I have had anything from, but I like to live vicariously through Shift Beers and anyone that's doing that, which is really cool. And with part of that, they brought back the bussin' scale.
Ah, yes,
for
the
how
bussin'.
they rated Beals. Yeah, Beals?
Beals?
Yes.
The Beals?
I give up. I've had beers, so therefore I mispronounce all the words.
The beers.
The beers.
Bussin' scale. Bussin',
no cap.
Or bussin', no cap. Bussin', bustin'.
Yes, Bustin' is one of the top accolades for a beer. I don't believe they had a Bustin' on this one. Did they?
I think there might have been a Bustin'.
Was there a
There might have
Bustin'?
been a Bustin' sighting. I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's possible.
Listen to find out. See where Marco and I's notes failed you on this recap.
Yeah. Everywhere from the beginning. But anyway.
And then they talked about the best or worst beer trade ever as part of bonus beers.
And you may have been part of that.
I may have been part of that, which to me, I was cool with it.
Okay.
Everyone else is
Very
like,
good.
what the hell? So to each their own.
What's up with that?
Exactly.
What's up with that?
And I just want to say, join their Patreon, because when they do put out bonus things, it is great. The most recent bonus episode is, as you heard in Josh's commercial break-ish near the end of this episode.
Ah, yes. And Brian will give you something special.
It is true. He will. There was like a 20-ish minute segment of the end of this podcast where they just started calling everyone, Beth, Chris, Gnome, and...
Did not get a call, by the way.
Well, and neither did I.
Yeah,
So
weird.
I feel a little put out by that.
Weird.
But guys, next time, do better. That's all I'm saying. Get the quality on your show with Julia and Marco, because we certainly know what we're doing. But they talked about the phone calls a bit. Like, holy cow, the Patreon, you get it all.
Yeah, you get it. You get it all.
All of it. And it was fantastic. And
all of it right up in you.
You get to hear, if you sign up for their Patreon,
strap it on.
Hear about Dip a Gnome, because you find out about Dip a Gnome.
Dip a Gnome.
And crispiness.
Yes.
The very crispinesses of beers.
That's right. The crispiness.
Yes. We had the burp count.
We did.
For this episode.
Hey, burp count.
I just want to preface this.
Welcome back, burp count.
After pretty much every single burp, I audibly went, Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I actually had a vocal reaction to 95 to 98%.
They were doing some special work there.
There were pre and post burps. There was a lot of vocalizations going on this episode. So good on them. But it was kind of a lot. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that a dog doesn't fall off a chair while I'm pulling up my sound effect.
It's all right. It's playing cards.
All right. So are you ready, Marco?
I am.
For the burp count of episode 107.
Give it to me, Julia.
Of Shift Beers. They had 76 burps.
Holy shit.
152 ounces.
Whoa.
9.5 pints.
Oh my God.
Of your favorite live.
Holy shit. It was like a 55-minute podcast.
Yes. It was a lot. And
wow.
Think about the editing.
Please, drinking game responsibly.
Please. And think about this. How many did they edit out? Like, what portions of the conversation did they say?
Oh, and they went to the restroom, and then they had to go get Kevin. And yeah, it was a lot.
I mean, that was just what they put out publicly.
Woo!
And
good work.
Good freaking Lord. Good job, guys.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Wow. Applaud your efforts. That is a hard word to say.
The efforts?
The efforts.
Yeah. Congratulations. Great job. So, Shift Beers. Excellent. And I think, Julia, I think that does it for my notes. Your notes?
I think my notes are pretty well covered. So, do you want to wrap this up? Because
let's wrap it up.
We have some tequila to drink. We have some other stuff that we want to get done.
We're going to do a little bit. We're going to do a little extra content here.
Yes.
So, yes.
All right.
Let's go ahead. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everybody. As this podcast airs, there is one day. There's this airs Friday, and then Saturday you got Christmas Eve, and then there's Christmas, and then happy holidays to everybody that's celebrating other holidays. So thank you all for your listenership and this journey, and let's go to. And
if you would like to continue to support us, you can like, review, subscribe, share, all that good stuff.
Patreon.
We are at Truth Beer Pod everywhere, including YouTube and Patreon. Follow our YouTube for I guess, public video content. Follow our Patreon for some exclusive video and more content.
That's right.
Other than that, Marco, what are you going to be doing next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday, I do not care holiday week. I am going to be here talking about Cincinnati Craft Beer Podcast with you.
Let's do it. Cheers.
Cheers. Might get naked next week. Who knows?